are stories that stay buried inside you. Not because you forget them, but because some part of you is still afraid to say them out loud. This is one of those stories. I was 25, maybe 26. No wife, no kids, no fear. I used to disappear into the mountains alone, deep into the backcountry. No trails, no cell service, no other human beings. Just silence. I loved it. This particular trip was in the Cherokee National Forest, and I will never be the same person I was before that night. I'd been out there 2 days. Everything was perfect. Until the western sky turned black. Within an hour, the wind had teeth. The temperature dropped like a stone. Lightning cracked so close I felt it in my chest. And I was hiking at elevation with a metal-framed pack. I needed shelter, fast. That's when I saw it. Through the trees to my left, a structure, small, dark, almost swallowed by the forest. An old cabin. I nearly cried from relief. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. It was dim. It smelled wrong, but it was dry. I stripped off my soaked gear, lay down on the floor. Survival mode, not exploration mode. But after a few minutes, I turned on my flashlight. And that's when the room started to feel different. There was a sleeping bag near the cot. It didn't look old. Cans of food on the table, water jugs. Someone had been here recently. Then I saw the scratches near the door. Dozens of them. Not accidental damage. Scratches, like something clawing. I looked at the door latch. Simple, metal. There was a bracket outside for a padlock. Only on the outside. No lock on the inside. I moved to the window. Screwed shut from the outside. And around the frame, deep gouges in the wood. Like someone had tried to claw their way out with bare hands. Someone had been kept here. Trapped. I should have left, but the storm was savage. So I stayed, and I waited. Then, outside the cabin, 2 heavy thumps on the porch. And then, pressure on the door. Slow, deliberate, like someone pressing their full weight against it. The latch rattled, and I realized the door wasn't locked. If someone was outside, they could come in. Unless they didn't want to come in. Unless they wanted me to stay inside. I was 30 seconds from running. Then, glass exploded behind me. Something came through the window, and the room erupted in flames. It spread in seconds, impossibly fast. That wood had been treated with something. I threw myself at the door, jammed, locked from the outside. I hit it again. It gave. I ran into the storm. Then, something hit me from behind. A man. We fought in the mud and the rain. His hands found my throat. His fingers went for my eyes. I don't know how I got free, but I ran. I didn't stop until my legs collapsed beneath me. The doctors said I was lucky. 2nd-degree burns on my arm and neck. The police investigated. Nothing came of it. Someone had tried to burn that cabin down with me inside it, in the middle of a thunderstorm. Someone who had been watching. Someone who had been waiting.
Someone who knew exactly what they were doing. I never told my wife. I've never hiked alone again. And sometimes, late at night, I still think about those scratches on the wall. And I wonder how many others found that cabin before me, and how many of them never found the door.
Some places aren't abandoned, they're waiting. My friend Charles had a gift for finding things that weren't meant to be found. Factories, buildings, locked doors. He'd already found a way through. So when he discovered an old fire lookout tower, deep in the woods, decommissioned, untouched, swallowed by trees, there was never a question of whether we'd go, only when. 70 feet tall, no fence, no warning signs, just rusted bolts and missing railings and a vertical ladder near the top that groaned like it was tired of holding on. But the view was unreal. We watched the sun bleed out across the tree line, cracked open a few beers. For one brief hour, everything was perfect. Then Charles knocked his metal bottle against the tower railing. The clang rang out for miles. That's when we saw it. A light in the forest, far away. But it wasn't swinging like a flashlight. It was floating, moving with a steadiness that didn't belong to anything human. It came closer, then stopped, directly below us. Charles called down. No answer. The light didn't move, didn't flicker, didn't react. For 30 minutes, it just stood there. Then, as if it had decided something, it vanished. We went inside the cab, pulled the door shut, didn't say much. 20 minutes later, clang, metal on metal from below. Then again, grinding, slow and deliberate, moving up the steel frame. Not footsteps, something else. I pressed my back against the door. Charles grabbed my arm. Neither of us spoke. Then I saw it, a dark outline passing the window, gone before I could make sense of it. We waited until morning. When the door finally opened, there was no one there, no trace, no footprints, nothing. But as we descended the stairs, we stopped. An entire section of the staircase was gone, not collapsed, not fallen, removed. Every bolt, every piece of steel vanished without a single scrap left on the ground below. Someone or something had dismantled part of that structure in the dark while we were standing right above it, without making a sound we could hear. We jumped the gap. We walked out of those woods. We never went back, and I've spent years trying to find an explanation that makes sense. I'm still looking. I've been camping alone for 15 years. I know the sounds of the woods. I know what belongs there. What I heard in Daniel Boone National Forest did not belong there. The first night was peaceful, nothing unusual, nothing wrong. Then I opened my eyes. 200 yards through the trees, an orange glow, a campfire. I watched it for 5 minutes. It didn't move. It didn't flicker. It just burned. In the morning, I walked to where it had been. No ash, no scorch marks, no footprints, nothing. Like it had never existed at all. The second night, I moved deeper into the forest. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted answers.
I woke just past midnight to a sound like a gunshot, a tree falling, then another from a completely different direction. There was no wind, no storm, no explanation. And then I heard it, a low, continuous rumbling coming from somewhere just beyond the darkness. Not a bear, not an elk, not anything with a name I know. It went on for nearly a full minute. I sat there, rifle in hand, not moving. And then it simply stopped, like it knew I was listening. At first light, I found the second fallen tree, and I wish I hadn't. The trunk wasn't snapped. It wasn't split by wind or rot. It was gouged, torn open, deep grooves in the wood, like something had worked at it, methodically, patiently, until it came down. Not beaver damage, not anything I'd ever seen. Something had done this on purpose. And then I saw what was resting near the fallen branches, a blue bandana and a carabiner. Mine. They had been in my pack. Something had been inside my camp while I slept, going through my things, and it left them there, like a message, like it wanted me to know. I ran. I didn't stop until I reached my car. I called the police. Nothing came of it. No investigation. No answers. I still go camping. I don't know why that surprises people, but I never forgot the fire that left no ash, the trees that fell with no wind, the sound that had no name, and most of all, the feeling that whatever was out there in the dark had been watching me the entire time, and it still is.